Welcome, everybody. John Rivosas here, Washington, D.C. Hello. Welcome. I'm going to let the TikTokers in while I'm talking to you guys. Let's take a second here. They're on my iPad. You're on my laptop. Let's see the TikTokers. Moving them into position. Here we go. All right. Let's see who we got on TikTok today. DMR, you are the first TikToker. And Colonel Mustard, you're second. And Ashley is third. All right. Well, pretty good today. Hey, Ashley. Hey, everybody. Evening, Jennifer. Wherever you are, must be evening, I'm guessing, since you said good evening. We are, as always, I'm John Rivosas in Washington, D.C. I'm going to start the show in a couple minutes. We start a little bit early just so folks can saunter in on actually both YouTube and TikTok. It seems to take a few minutes for folks to get the notification. So, hey, UK. Hi, Annette. So what we'll do is, what I always do, is we will go till around 5 or 6 minutes after. Oh, hey, Orchid in Ukraine. Are you Ukrainian or just happen to be in Ukraine? We will go to around 5 or 6 after right now, just to give people time to filter in, and then I will start with the news. And there you go. Whew. Oh, man. Another beastly day in Washington, D.C. What is it up to now while I'm waiting? It says 84. It's got to be worse than that. It's just the humidity is so bad that it's my allergies and, oh, my God, you name it. Hello, UK. Oh, and I forgot to almost say, that's right. At the beginning, while we're waiting for folks to filter in, it's always nice for people just to say where you're from, which I think is kind of neat. So TikTok is making it difficult to log into my show. I know that. I know that. The traffic dropped precipitously in one day. So yes, they dropped with literally, thank you there, Blaka. They literally plummeted my traffic in one day. And I've been trying to build it back up, but they're clearly not letting people know, which is really annoying, but what do you do? Anyway, so that's another reason why, thank you, why we go for about 5. Like I said, I start around 5 or 6 after, because even with TikTok playing games with the viewership, it gives folks just enough time to kind of start filtering in. So, but anyway, yeah. So say where you guys are from. I didn't see what Mullen said. You know what? While we're waiting for the 5 or 6 minute after thing, let me just look, since someone says the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said something. Mullen. Let's see what he said. Oh, I see. 3 hours ago. Let me see. Former chairman of the Joint Chiefs. We're doing a soft launch, as I always do, folks. Oh, my mic isn't on because I'm an idiot. Thank you, Moon Mia. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Yes, I am. Well, I've got a different mic for the YouTube, etc., folks. I've got a big honkin' mic here. But for TikTok, I bought a very nice little itty-bitty mic that works very well for you guys. And I always forget to put it on because I'm a goofball. So yes, we're going to start. We're going to give another maybe 2 minutes for folks to filter in on TikTok. But sort of a breaking story, former Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman. Now, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in America is our top uniformed military official. The Secretary of Defense is the actual head of the military. And he is always a civilian, although in this case, he's a civilian who used to be military. He's a former general. But the uniformed, the acting military head is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. So Admiral Mullen is a former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, said on Sunday that U.S. officials should consider the possibility of Russia using a nuclear weapon amid its ongoing invasion of Ukraine. It's very difficult to know what Putin is thinking at any particular time. He's obviously spoken to this. I think we need to make sure that we consider it as a possibility. Yeah, I don't see. We should remind that as the country that's actually used them in 1940s, how devastating they are, and do everything we possibly can to make sure they don't get used. But they are part of Russia's arsenal. He's pretty well cornered and boxed in, so we would certainly have to consider it's a possible action he can take. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I don't agree with him, but that's fine. We can talk about it. Let's go we'll go 1 more minute, folks, and then we'll start. Maybe I'll start with the Mullen stuff. Why not? We can start with that. I'll do my explanation, what we do first, though. So for comments, as always, Sasha's already got her water. Actually, I did fill Sasha's water. Hopefully she didn't drink it. Nope. Sasha's got water, so we should be good. I ask you guys on TikTok to put your comments in the Q&A box at the bottom, if you would, because that way it lines them up for me. On YouTube and everything else, just use your comment box. I will do about a 20-minute news intro first. Then we get to the question and answer. And when we do the question and answer, then I will do your guys' questions back and forth. But as I always promise on Super Chat questions, so on YouTube, if you do a Super Chat question, I will always get to that first. And I will also try to get to that next. So even if I'm doing my summary now, I will break once I'm done with the issue I'm talking about and then do the Super Chat question as a thank you to you guys, because when you buy those, you're supporting my work. And on TikTok, I always appreciate the fun little stuff you guys throw up too. I got some feedback that it was maybe breaking the show up too much, trying to call you guys by name, because every time I do try to find your name so I can call you by name, but know that I can see your name, I still will give a nod when you put stuff up. So be aware of that. And why so early is because, and then we'll dig right in, guys, on the weekends, I do an earlier show. Boop, see, that's my nod. I do an earlier show on the weekends so that the Europeans can have a much better chance of joining us, because for them, you're talking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours ahead, depending where they are. So it works better. So weekdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, midnight Paris. Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Paris. Okay, guys, let's join right in. So Mullen's comments. Look, I agree with the first half of his comments, which is we have to be prepared for Russia to use nuclear weapons. We, of course, have to consider it, and we've got to consider what we're going to do. We don't sit here and wait until the end and Russia actually uses them in some form and then go, gosh, this is really bad. What do we do? Right? This is a scenario that we should have gamed out in advance, and we should know 4 a.m. Australia time. Sorry. We should know in advance what we're doing with regards to this. That I agree. The whole thing about Putin being cornered, sure, but I'm not sure that there is a difference there, because the problem is when you're dealing with this, Russia is either going to win or lose the war, right? Or stalemate. And if every time Russia gets itself into a war that we have to say, gosh, Russia has nuclear weapons, they can't lose, then I think we lose. And not only do we lose because we're empowering, no, this is my apartment. We lose because we're empowering Russia. And I think we're empowering them for the next fight, because we are saying, literally, even by what Mullen said, we're almost saying, Vlad, just so you know, you can never lose. You can never lose. Don't worry. No matter what you do, no matter what crimes you commit, no matter what countries you invade, no matter what genocide you do, we're afraid of cornering you, so you will never lose. That means you're going to not only do stuff even worse to the civilians and everything else, because again, you can never lose, but also it means you're going to do it next time, which worries me. So anyway, that was the start with that. Overall with the war, the Russians are intensifying the battle in I will say the far east, but meaning the far east of Ukraine, in the Luhansk area. They are going after a strategic town of Severodonetsk, and that town, basically, it's the place they're going for now. It's the place they're going for now. They've been trying to surround it. Last night, they had like 4 different attacks from 4 different directions. The Ukrainians reportedly had pushed them back, so they haven't had progress. But it looks like what the Russians are doing, they're not, I don't want to say they're not trying to get the entire of eastern Ukraine, but it seems like they're really trying to get the easternmost part of eastern Ukraine, which is Luhansk, not the Donetsk. They're still trying to get Donetsk, but that east is what they're really, really, really going after now. The other stuff they're going for, according to the reports, is they are reinforcing their troops around Kharkiv, the second largest city in the northeast. Remember, that was the town that the Russians got pushed back from. They were trying to encircle it. They were trying to take over, and the Ukrainians pushed them all the way back to the border. Well, the Russians are trying to reinforce their positions at the very least so that the Ukrainians don't come across the border into Russia and start doing stuff, right? Now, I don't know whether Ukrainians would do that or whether they would see that as too great a threat, but Russia can't afford the possibility that Ukraine might come across. And this was the same thing I was telling you. Remember when I told you about what was going on with Transnistria in Moldova, but also what was going on with Belarus in the northwest of Ukraine, that the Russians are kind of rabble-rousing in both places. And even though neither looks like it's going to invade, really. The Ukrainians can't bet on that. So they've got to send a couple thousand troops or whatever up near Belarus. Same thing down near Moldova, and they're basically wasting troops they can't put elsewhere. Well, now the Russians are in the same boat. So they're having to put more troops around Kharkiv just in case the Ukrainians decide and say, hey, let's grab a couple of kilometers of Russia. What the hell, right? So that's what's going on there. The Russians are trying to set up an administration, a city administration to administer Mariupol. Good luck with that. The city is a disaster, no food, no water, no anything. So I don't think they're going to have very good luck with that. And the Russians, as I had mentioned, are digging in around Kharkiv. Listen to me. All the K's. Come on, the K-town in the southwest. It's not, oh my God, I'm forgetting here. I didn't write it down. Dude, I wrote Kharkiv. Oh, this is killing me, guys. We talk about this town every... Kherson, thank you. Kherson, Kherson. Kherson, which is a town and a region in southern Ukraine, just north of Crimea. The Russians, exactly, Nathan, thank you. The Russians are in charge of that area right now. They've taken it over. They've been digging in for reinforcements, or not reinforcements, for defensive aspects so that the Russians, the Ukrainians can't invade. And I did confirm yesterday, as I suspected, they are also putting in landmines, which makes sense. They're trying to mine the whole artificial borders so the Ukrainians can't come in. Now, Zelensky gave an interview, and interestingly, Kherson, well, I say Kherson, so who knows how you pronounce it in English. Zelensky gave an interview, and he was talking about, or a speech, and was talking about what he considers victory. And it was very interesting because he said, I'd consider it a victory for Ukraine as of today to advance to the February 24th line without unnecessary losses. And what he means is, and hang on, I'm going to, as always, adjust my temperature as we're going around here because it's always a little warm in my apartment. What he seems to mean is he wants to get Ukraine back to the borders the way they were the day before the war. And that means Russia is not out of the east, but Russia's pretty far out of the east. They were still controlling a part of the east through their own puppets, but they hadn't invaded. Also, Russia already had annexed Crimea illegally, but now they've got land north of Crimea, Kherson. They've got that strip of land between Crimea and the eastern area, which goes through Mariupol. So in other words, getting all of that back would be enough for Zelensky to consider it a victory for Ukraine. Now, what's interesting, first I was hearing this and I was thinking, okay, that seems kind of dumb. Why are you negotiating with yourself? And in politics, we call that negotiating with yourself. When you start to make concessions when the other guy isn't even negotiating with you. And in this case, Putin's not negotiating with him. So why is Zelensky saying it's that, why is Zelensky saying, well, maybe we don't want Crimea back right now, blah, 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 right? And then I started thinking about it. And I think what's going on is a couple things. I mean, look, obviously Ukraine is being hit hard. They're losing a lot of troops. They're losing a lot of citizens. I mean, this is destroying their cities. So eventually, they've got to take that into account. I mean, I'm sure they already are taking it into account about how far do they go, how much do they want. You guys had asked me previously about Crimea and whether, for example, Ukraine could ever take back Crimea. And I was saying, it's going to depend on, is it feasible? Would it work? How many men would it take? How much machinery? How many weapons? How much time? How much money? And at the same time that war keeps going on, Ukrainians are dying. So, and you're not rebuilding the country. That's a calculus as well. So there's always a balance going on here. What I think, though, is going on, which is very interesting, is Zelensky, not interesting, it's annoying, actually, that Zelensky has to do this. He's unfortunately publicly negotiating with France, Germany, Italy, and even the United States, I fear, where in the last few days, we talked about how everyone's trying to get him to, not everyone, but there's been increased talk of we need a ceasefire. And even the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, said to the Russian Secretary of Defense, we need an immediate ceasefire. As I've said, thank you, the problem with an immediate ceasefire is it locks in Russia's gains. It lets Russia say, okie dokie, we've got a big chunk of the east, we've got that corridor, we've got Kherson north of Crimea. Let's have a ceasefire for a month where we can keep digging in, we can keep putting down mines, we can keep putting down those hedgehog giant, jacks that stop tanks and vehicles. And we can give our troops a month to finally relax because we didn't give them the break they needed. Russia did not give its troops the breaks they needed when they left Kyiv in the north, when they left the battle around Mariupol, and when they left the Battle of Kharkiv. They took all those troops and moved them to the east and didn't give them a break at all. And the military guys and gals are saying that you've got to give them some time off to rehabilitate, basically to get their energy back because they're burned out. Well, having a ceasefire lets them rehabilitate, right? Rehabilitate, you know what I mean, get their energy back. Now, what I think, though, is going on is, therefore, Zelensky hears this, and he is trying to tell the Russians, he's trying to tell the French that, and the Germans and the Italians, and even the Americans, look, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to drag this out forever. I'm not saying that if I get everything back, that I'm going to take this opportunity to get Crimea back and I'm going to have a 5-year war. So he's saying, I'm not saying that. What I want is to get my country back to where we were the day before the war. And isn't that the best thing that we can do? And isn't that the fair thing that we can do? And it gives Russia something. Russia doesn't lose anything, at least, right? Russia ends up not losing anything in the war. And at the same time, Ukraine ends up not losing anything in the war from where they were before. Anyway, that's my take on this. Update on the Amazon wish list. Oh, that's right. Let me ask Vlad about that. Hold on. There was a super chat question from Chris from HR. We had talked about an Amazon wish list for my friend Vlad and or other Ukrainians there. I had mentioned toys to him if there was some way to get toys to refugee kids, not refugees, but internal refugee kids. But I will ask him again. He liked the idea. He thought he could. But again, they've been doing lots of stuff. Actually, I will give you a quick update on that. Vlad just sent me some video and some photos that were really adorable of the second car that we bought, arrived in Kharkiv yesterday or in the last day or so, and delivered the food to the food charity and the car as well. You may recall we raised a little over $10,000 to buy 2 used vehicles, fill them with food from Western Ukraine, and drive them cross-country to Eastern Ukraine, to Kharkiv, the second largest city. At the time they were driving was when it was still a very dangerous situation with the bombing and everything else. It's much better now, but the food situation is not better. People are still in trouble when it comes to being fed. So you need these charities. So anyway, we've now driven 2 different cars. I should say not we, Vlad's friends drove 2 different cars cross-country, delivered massive amounts of food, thousands of dollars worth of food, and they are now giving the cars to the food charity so the food charity can use the cars to do even more deliveries as time goes on. So anyway, he gave me a little update from the guy at the charity thanking everybody and some really cute photos of people getting the food, which I will get to maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I've got to get there and sort of edit the video, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. Let's see what else we got here. Right, what would Z consider a victory? All right. You want to go out again? Yeah? I'm looking at my dog. This is what we do as I'm doing my... Here, you want to go again? Here, go on. No? Of course you don't. And my dog, it's a hot day, so she likes going to bed. Go on. She likes going to sit out in the sun, but it's also 90 degrees, so she goes back and forth. That was a fake. She literally goes to the door. I was sitting at the door. I opened it, and she walked away. And then I closed it, and she walked back up. So, yes, this is my ongoing dog dad duty where I have to just keep an eye on my little girl. I'm just opening this so I can see when she finally decides to come back in. Here we go. In any case, other news, the French are also negotiating with themselves. Listen to this latest news from France. A French minister, I'm not sure which, but cabinet secretary, so to speak, went public in the last day and said, European Union membership for Ukraine will take 15 or 20 years. It will not take months or even a handful of years. Now, here's the problem with that. Whether or not that's reasonable, I don't know. I know with the European Union, look, it's an economic union, and therefore countries have to change all of their laws to join, because literally it's as if your country added another state. And for that state to join your country, that state has to have the same food quality laws, the same trade laws, right? The same, I mean, you name it, fraud laws. I mean, all the different laws have got to be the same for commerce, right? So that makes sense. What I don't like is, let's say that maybe it would take 15 years. Maybe that's normal and it's not punitive. It feels punitive to me, but maybe it's not punitive. Why the hell would you say that publicly? When the reason Putin gave, again, Putin's a bit of a liar here, but the reason Putin gave for invading Ukraine in 2014 was the European Union Ukraine that he felt Ukraine was getting too close to the European Union. By saying that Ukraine will not join the European Union for 15 to 20 years, you are handing Putin a gift. And I would say, don't give Putin that gift unless he gives you something in return, right? That is absolutely a huge negotiating point. And that is bailing. It is a huge negotiating point. Why not use it as one? So anyway, I'm a little ticked about that. And I don't quite know what the French are doing. And I think what we're seeing is Macron is, dog's doing okay. Macron is trying to be the European leader here. And honestly, I love France, by the way, so don't get me wrong, but I don't think he knows what he's doing. And he's trying to be like the big guy in Europe. Kind of annoying me. Up, and Richard just bought a question, or didn't buy a question, he's making a nice comment. Pas de question, c'est un petit geste de remerciement pour ton travail, merci. Thank you. And for everybody else, Richard is simply saying, no question, just a little gesture to thank you for your work. Thank you, that's sweet of you. I appreciate that. And you let me show off my French skills, Richard, so that's sweet of you. I appreciate that. So Russia shut off all natural gas this weekend to Finland, and absolutely nothing happened. It made no difference whatsoever. I like that story. I like the fact that it's just kind of like, nothing happened. Lithuania also just cut off all Russian energy imports, oil, electricity, and natural gas. And you got to remember with all of this that, yes, these countries are now having to wean themselves off of Russia. Thank you for that. But at the same time, Russia's having to wean itself from the money it would have been getting from these countries. My guess is these countries do not form a large amount of Russia's imports, of Russia's exports and money. But nonetheless, every time either Russia cuts off somebody like Finland or Lithuania cuts off Russia, it's less money going to Russia. And that's an important thing. Sanctions. This was interesting. I like to sort of do ongoing, hang on. And now my apartment's getting too cold. Drives me crazy. The back and forth of my apartment. Oh my God. Let's see if the dog wants to come in. Sorry, one more second. Looking for only because, like I said, it's 90 degrees out, so I don't want to leave her out there too long. But the Russian transportation minister. Come on, dog. Are you coming in or not? Yeah, she's coming in. I knew it. I knew my dog. All right, come back in. All right. She goes out for about 10 minutes, gets hot, comes back in. This is going to be happening back and forth for the entire broadcast, just so you know. The Russian transportation minister said sanctions have, quote, practically broken all logistics corridors for trade in the country in Russia. And what he means is that the sanctions have stopped commercial transportation. The country, and I said, was it Maersk? It's funny. I'd never heard of this company. Everyone was like, it's the biggest transportation company out there. But Maersk has pulled out. UPS, FedEx, DHL, all the companies have pulled out. They are not delivering goods in Russia. And now what that means is that Russian commerce is starting to grind to a halt because people cannot transfer their goods. They can't ship them cross country. And the people also, so it's very, very interesting that the transportation minister is saying this. Now, somebody was asking me earlier, and I wasn't entirely sure why. Why would they admit this? It does make me wonder at some point whether the Russians are almost trying to blame everything on sanctions now, right? I mean, why not? Why not? If they're so screwed up that they can't even keep their logistics going, it's probably easier to say NATO did it, right? Or the West did it, or whatever. Having said that, I doubt Russia was having this many problems before the war, and they clearly are. So I say good news on that front. And Music Girl, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Try not to say it's funny. It's something that you're trained when you do TV, but when I'm doing these long things, it's like doing radio, and I still say the thing. The Biden is meeting with Indian Prime Minister Modi in Japan today. He's going to try to get him to buy into the sanctions against Russia. As you know, India has not been terribly helpful on that account. Russia is considering, this story is interesting. The story is that Russia is considering trading Medvedchuk for some of the Azov prisoners. Thank you, Borderline. And what this means is Medvedchuk is not an opposition leader. He's a pro-Russian politician in Ukraine who wants Ukraine to join Russia, most likely supports the war. Thank you. And all that kind of stuff, right? So he's not the opposition leader. He's the traitor. And he was arrested for treason, actually, when the war started. Well, he got away. The Ukrainians got him again. And there's a proposal floating out there about some of the Azov defenders of the steel plant, right? The Azovstal steel plant getting traded for him. All the Russians said was something like, we are looking into this, or we are looking at this. It did not strike me as strong as the headline itself that said the Russians were considering it. It struck me more like someone said to a press secretary, oh, I understand the Ukrainians said, let's trade some for this. And they said, yeah, we heard that. We're looking at it. That doesn't necessarily mean you're considering it. So let's see what happens. It's possible. Well, this was kind of a good story. This was a very good story. The Russians decided, I think they saw everything the Ukrainians were doing and how much social media and everything else the Ukrainians have been doing in terms of how well they've been doing online, right? And getting their story out there and getting sympathy, but also getting people to go, yeah. I've posted lots of videos on TikTok of the Ukrainians successfully hitting Russian equipment, right? Well, the Russians thought they would do the same thing. So they've got a mobile artillery unit, and these are, from what I understand, very useful and very wanted. Thank you, Wanda. Because you can, normal artillery, right? Normal artillery, I always say it's like the Triceratops or whatever, like the big metal shield and the big gun coming out of it. You've got to move that thing around, and then you fire it. And if you don't move it around after you fire it, the other guy can reverse engineer where it is. I mean, you could almost think of it like using a VCR. Let's not go there. But, using your phone to record something, and you're looking in an open field, and you see this thing go like this, and it lands on you. Well, you've now got a video. You can reverse the video and go, oh, that's where it came from. It's much more complicated than that, but that's the general concept of, higher tech radar and things like that. And we've given Ukraine some of these, and I'm sure the Russians have some too, can reverse engineer where the artillery is coming from. So once you shoot the artillery, it sometimes is a good idea to move it somewhere else. Well, when you've got to move it by hooking it up to a truck or something, that takes time. When you've got mobile artillery that literally can move itself, it shoots and literally you drive it somewhere else. That's a really good thing. So the Russians were very proud of themselves. And they did a video on social media. This one I'm gonna try to show you on my phone because it made me laugh. And then people got upset that I laughed, but I'm sorry. The Russians did a video, and this guy, I forget his name, is on the video going, in Russian, oh, look at our wonderful mobile artillery. Aren't you so proud? Well, the Ukrainians watched the video, figured out the GPS, whatever it was, of exactly where the artillery was, and they blew it up. Right after the video came out. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's just too idiotic what the Russians keep doing here. If I've got it, I'll show you really quick, just because I think it's interesting to, oh yeah, this is it. It's interesting just to see this stuff. Now, this is a video someone did that shows the Russian guy talking, and then at the end, you see the actual blowing up. Hang on. Oops. It's small, but... He's the guy bragging. That's his big proud gun behind him. This is the thing getting blown up. It's like, bye-bye. And I'm sorry. It's, the thing is, and this is interesting too, actually. I will say this as a side point. The Russian trolls, we say trolls, but meaning people who are basically being paid by Russia to come and cause problems in the comments and also spread disinformation. One of the things they've done a lot, and they've been doing it a lot the last couple of days, is they keep coming to my comments and saying, like with videos like that, somebody's son was inside that vehicle. And they're trying to build up not just support for the Russians, but it's much more subtle. They're trying to build up some kind of empathy for them so that we feel bad. We feel bad blowing up Russian vehicles. We feel bad that we gave the weapons that helped blow up these vehicles because we killed someone's son. Now, as far as I'm concerned, we maybe helped the Ukrainians kill somebody's son who just violated a 15-year-old girl, mutilated and killed her brother, and bombed her baby sister. That's who was just killed in that tank. But what's interesting to me is the number of trolls that have come to say that. I could easily see a person, maybe two in one comment thread on a video on TikTok saying, I look at this and I get it, but I do feel bad because I wonder where he's from. Fair enough. But nonstop comments saying the same thing. And I'd seen them before. And it's part of a larger Russian disinformation strategy. And as you know, I like to talk about the disinformation because part of it, I think, is educating some of you who may not have dealt as much with bad people on the internet as some of us unfortunately have over the years. And it's building this larger sympathy for the Russians thing. And you see it on the sanctions front as well, right? Oh, those sanctions. We're told, A, the Russians always tell us the Western sanctions don't work, A, and B, oh my God, it's killing small babies who can't get medicine. And you're like, okay, which one is it? Do they not work or it's killing small babies? But they're trying to do this ongoing thing of we're at war with, first we're at war with the Russian army and not the people. And now they're arguing we're not even at war with the Russian army because they're just poor deluded boys. Anyway, just keep it in mind. But it's, as I said, I don't think we should lose our humanity, but I think at the same time, you know what? When genocidal maniacs are getting blown up and stopped, we should take a minute and say, yeah, good idea. The pontoons. Oh, yeah. So the Russians did it again on this one, too. This was kind of fabulous. I'm sorry. This is another one. People got mad at me. Well, bad trolls, Russian trolls got mad at me. But the Russians thought it would be a good idea to once again in eastern Ukraine. Remember where the Russians tried 3 different times, or I shouldn't say 3 different times, but 3 pontoon bridges to cross that river. And the Ukrainians knew about it in advance or figured it out in advance and blew it up, destroyed at least, they said 72, ironic number actually, 72 tanks and military vehicles. The Western analysts say that the Ukrainians killed at least 400 Russian troops. The Ukrainians say they killed as many as 1,000. It's like a crime scene. We've got video of it. It's a crime scene. I mean, there are just tanks buried in the water. It's a disaster. Well, the Russians decided they were going to do it again, and this time is going to be the charm. And they built the bridges, and the Ukrainians destroyed it again. And this time, not as many lost, but it says the Ukrainian soldiers say they destroyed dozens of Russian troops and several units of equipment, as well as a pontoon bridge. So, a little bit of coffee and water here. Feel my throat getting dry. So the moral of that story is, yeah, the Ukrainians did it again. I'll skip this German story. That's all right. This one's interesting. Okay. As I said, I try to give you guys news that I think is particularly interesting about what's going on with the war. But when I say interesting, I mean either something that you need to know happened, something big happened, and I'm going to tell you what it is, but also stories that give you a sense of what's going on behind the scenes. This is one of those stories. So I think I got this from the Kyiv Independent, but they often are, they're sharing stories that they've translated from elsewhere. So guerrillas, not guerrillas, but meaning partisans, meaning citizens who have secretly joined together to fight an occupier. Guerrillas, they're called. Guerrillas have helped Ukrainian armed forces destroy Russian artillery in Zaporizhia. So the Zaporizhia Regional Military Administration said on May 21st in a Telegram post that thanks to coordinated actions with guerrillas, Ukrainian riflemen destroyed several artillery systems of the Russian army. Now, what's interesting to me with that is Zaporizhia, or at least part of it, is occupied by the Russians. This is the place where the nuclear plant is. That other Chernobyl in the north, Zaporizhia in the south. The Russians are occupying the Zaporizhia nuclear plant, and they're actually digging in, according to the news from the last few days. The fact that there's a guerrilla operation that is successfully working with Ukrainian troops on the outside to do damage is really good news. That's the first time I've seen anything directly mention that. I wouldn't be surprised that it's happening anyway, but it's an affirmative confirmation of it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, 2 more quick stories and then we'll go. The Russian occupying forces in Zaporizhia, all same region, are threatening entrepreneurs who refuse to conduct business in rubles because they're trying to basically convert these areas to Russia. So they're making them do business in rubles. They're refusing, and they're threatening them, of course. And Zelensky says more than 1,000 educational institutions have been destroyed since the start of the war. 1,873 educational institutions have been destroyed by the Russians. The last thing I will show you is a little video, and actually Moon Mia, I think, sent me this, but I had seen it as well. But because she sent it to me, I remembered I wanted to show you guys. This is, real quick, hang on. This is a concert in St. Petersburg, Russia the other day. And I will show you, and then I'll tell you what's going on. A lot of young people, of course. They're chanting F the war. I'm not using the full word because I'm trying to be careful with the censors on TikTok and everything else, but very interesting. Remember how at the beginning of the war, we saw a lot of mass protests and everything and didn't hear much. This is the first in a long time that I've been hearing about anybody speaking out. I don't have the date on it. They were not sharing the date of when that was done. Nonetheless, it's still very interesting that a bunch of kids at a concert were like, screw it. Interesting. That is all I've got for the news today. I will, as I said, I didn't do the recap at the beginning. I will do the recap at the end of the show. In other words, after we have our Q&A period. But let's dive in with the questions and answers now. That didn't go too long. And as I said, you can enter the Q&A at the bottom of the screen on TikTok. You can enter in the comments on all the different things here you guys have, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And Harvey, I see yours already. And I always promise folks, there's no way for you guys to do, I wish there was a way for you guys on TikTok to be able to do the super chat questions, but there isn't. So I apologize for that. It's the TikTok thing. But on YouTube, if you guys buy a super chat question, I will always get to that first. Because combined, there's about 100 questions easily per show, and there's no way for me to get to 100 questions in like 45 minutes or so. So that is my way of saying thank you when you buy the Super Chat questions. And as always, if you want to keep putting the funny stuff on my face, I welcome it. Oh, there we go. Somebody's got the TikTok game. So I do appreciate that. Thanks, Danielle. So Harvey is saying, confused how it seemed Russia had promised the leadership of Ukraine to both Medvedchuk or Yanukovych after the war. Yanukovych apparently waiting in Belgrade. Yanukovych is the Ukrainian leader that was thrown in the populist uprising. Yanukovych apparently waiting in Belgorod, which is the Russian town across the border from Kharkiv in the northeast that keeps having the mysterious fires. Remember? Like, oh, a munitions plant, a weapons ammunition plant blew up. A oil depot blew up, right? Like all the things keep blowing up in Belgorod, right across the border. That's where Belgorod is. So Yanukovych, the Ukrainian leader who was overthrown in the popular uprising 8 years ago or so, is apparently waiting there to take over. Similar with Medvedchuk, who is that Ukrainian politician who is so pro-Russian that he was charged with treason. He's literally working for Russia, basically. Anyway, so similar with Medvedchuk, was Russia playing them against each other? Confused how it seemed Russia had promised the leadership. Oh, interesting. Okay, so what Harvey's saying is that it seems that Russia had promised that once, remember they were going to have their 3-day invasion and they were going to take over the country? Harvey's saying that they seem to have promised both Medvedchuk, this Ukrainian politician who's really in bed with the Russians, a traitor, and Yanukovych, the former president who got overthrown in the popular uprising because he was way too close to Russia too, and was starting to pull them back away from the EU and everything else, that it looks like Russia promised both of them that they could be head of the country. Now, Harvey, I don't know if they were playing them against each other. They may have been just doling out fake promises. In other words, tell them, hey, when we take over, we're going to make you president, but you can't tell anybody because it has to sound like it was by popular demand or some BS like that, right? Well, they could easily tell both of them that and say, again, don't tell anybody so they won't find out, because they needed Medvedchuk to do something. And then they needed Yanukovych to do something. And frankly, maybe they needed somebody else to do something. They need that. Well, I know Medvedchuk, for example, is also an oligarch. So he's got a ton of money, stolen money, like all of these guys, but a ton of money. Maybe they wanted his money. I don't know. But it easily could have been a bribe to multiple people that you never intended to keep by saying that. So that's my guess on that. But I don't know the internal politics enough to say, was there some other reason that they were playing them against each other, for example, All right, let me jump to a TikTok question here. Remember, guys, you can enter the questions at the bottom on TikTok. Thank you, Documenting Russia. Well, that's interesting. I mean, that's a good question. CC in LA says, don't you think Putin needs to be 100% removed? I mean, yes, the problem is we can't really do it, right? I mean, the U.S. can't do it because it would be literally war with Russia, like in the real way. Thank you, Kimmy. In a real way, if we did that, and we can't do that, meaning threat of nuclear and everything else. The Ukrainians, I don't think the Ukrainians are going to succeed in getting to Moscow. I mean, they're doing well, but in getting to Moscow and taking out Putin, right? So there's that issue as well. What was I going to say here? Sorry. The problem people think, though, is that you are correct. If Putin doesn't leave, if we don't get rid of Putin, I should say if Russia doesn't get rid of Putin, or if Putin just doesn't die on his own of old whatever he's got, whatever's wrong with him, the problem's not going to go away and the problem's going to come back. That Putin is going to build up his army again, he's going to do it again because he wants Ukraine. And he's going to do this to other countries in the area. And frankly, he did it in Syria before, too. He's going to keep committing these genocide. And unless he's stopped in some way, he's not. So I agree with you. He needs to be removed. It seems that we can't remove him because that would be all-out war. And to me, that means that we can't let him he can't win anything from this fight, because then he's going to be emboldened for the next time if he commits genocide. And we say, okay, let's give him a little land for the genocide. What the hell? If I were Putin, I'd go, okay, more genocide next time. I want more land. So there you go. Now, Syndicate, I did see this. YouTube deleted and blocked more than 70,000 videos and 9,000 channels that have to do with the Ukraine war. What they did specifically, though, is they deleted channels and videos that were not denying the war, that were apologists for the war. YouTube has a policy that you cannot, and I forgot the phrase they use, but that you cannot deny major events. Something like that. And the idea is a thing that is obviously true on its fact, you can't deny if it's a major event. And they would put the election denial stuff, I assume, in this category. They also are putting Russia's invasion of Ukraine in that territory, which is interesting as well. They're saying that accounts that said, for example, this wasn't, I think the phrase was, that this isn't an invasion and it's just a special military operation, that was enough to get the accounts, at least a strike against them if they keep doing it, banned. Now, Mike mentioned it could be copyright too. Copyright could easily be one of the excuses they use to take things down, but they now have an explicit policy that you cannot, actually Syndicate's just saying the same thing. He's backing me up. Thank you for backing me up, Syndicate. Google stipulates that all content that depicts the invasion of Ukraine as a liberation mission may not be published on YouTube. Liberation was the word. Yeah. So yes, I knew about it. I know everything. I don't know everything, but I did happen to read that story. But that's what's going on with that. Yep. All right, let me grab another TikTok question. What is your name? I want to say your name here. Arlo. Is the world losing support for the war effort? Not yet. Thank you, Gene, for that. Not yet, but I'm a little worried. I think we've now seen enough, between the tea leaves, so to speak. Oops, sorry, moving my cup of water here. We've now seen enough evidence that France, Germany, France. I said that like a Midwesterner. I'm from Chicago originally, and we have a very strong accent that comes out occasionally. Like when I say France, I said France, Italy, Germany, but even the United States. You're still seeing this from the United States, I believe. Not as strongly from Biden, but it keeps coming through. That they're worried about where do we go from here. They're worried about Putin being put in a corner and maybe using his nukes, like Admiral Mullen just said, right? They're worried about the cost of an ongoing war. I mean, we have spent a lot of money, right, including another $40 billion here. That's a lot of money. Having that continue for a couple of years is a lot to pay on someone else's war, but it's someone else's war that really matters to our security, right? There's the economic cost. The food cost is huge. We're really worried about food. The cost of energy going up and what that's. And throw that, for example, you're worried about elections. I mean, if you're Biden, you're worried about the fall elections. And in principle, Democrats are supposed to lose control of the Congress, at least currently. That could change, but at least currently. And you're worried that if this war keeps going on, the U.S. economy could do worse and people could hold the party in power accountable, which is what they usually do. So I think that is what we are starting to see. And what you're starting to see, therefore, is Western leaders talking about, like we said, A, you need a ceasefire. And B, I know Macron had done some of this, and I forgot. Oh, Italy did too the other day. Macron did this, where he was talking about possibly Ukraine giving up some land. Well, Zelensky said that Macron was talking about Ukraine giving up land in exchange for buying off Putin, and Zelensky was not pleased. And then the Italians the other day kind of did something similar. They were proposing a ceasefire, but it was a ceasefire, and they said that the status of Crimea and Donbass should be negotiated. And it was like, why should Ukraine have to negotiate not only the status of Crimea, which they own, which was taken from them, but Donbass in the east, which hasn't even been taken from them yet, really. I mean, the Russians are there and they're fighting them. Why should Ukraine have to negotiate that, right? It's their land. And mind you, there were no demands. And the sovereignty question of them joining NATO and the EU and everything else. There was nothing in the Italian proposal. It just hit me. Actually, I forgot about this when I talked the other day. There was nothing in the Italian proposal that said anything about what is Italy? I mean, what does Russia have to do? Right? Ukraine has to negotiate 2 chunks of land of its own territory. Ukraine has to negotiate whether it can even join NATO or the European Union. But Russia? What does Russia have to negotiate? Does Russia have to negotiate giving up a city? Does Russia have to negotiate giving up nuclear weapons? Does Russia have to negotiate, I don't know, creating a no man's land, a zone, a dead, like between North and South Korea on the Ukrainian border, so they patrolled by the UN? I mean, like, what is Russia? Even the proposals themselves innately are asking Ukraine to do something and not even looking at the possibility of Russia doing something or giving something up. So, yes, that does worry me. That does worry me. Hang on. Beep, 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 beep. Just see if there's any questions here. Romney, that's interesting. Mitt Romney made a big statement saying we need to get jets to Ukraine now. That's interesting. Romney is a Republican senator, somewhat moderate. That's interesting, just because we haven't seen a lot of discussion of that going on as far as the plane issue, right? We haven't seen much about the planes at all. I'm going to grab another TikTok question here. Do I believe Putin's sick as the media says? There's probably something wrong with him. I don't know whether he's necessarily dying, right? Even somebody else mentioned, Oliver Stone says that Putin has cancer. He can. The only thing is people with cancer don't always die, or at least they don't always die of their cancer, right? He could have a cancer that you live 5 to 10 years. You could have a cancer that you live 30 or 40 years. I mean, prostate cancer, for example, right? I mean, you can either get a bad case and it can kill you, or more often than not with prostate cancer, they tell men, you're going to die, but it's going to be of something else. And your prostate cancer is just never going to you won't live long enough for your prostate cancer to get bad enough to kill you. Eventually something else will do it in your 90s or whatever. So Oliver Stone, the sort of conspiracy theorist, U.S. film producer. So, or director. So, I mean, hard to say, but a lot of people do think that Putin is sick, that he's on steroids, that he may have had an adverse reaction to COVID that damaged his lungs, and he's taking steroids to open up the lungs, which may be part of the reason he's got a puffy face. Also, they say it's really dangerous to keep doing the steroids, so who knows? Who knows? But he may be. We just don't know. And as I said, we also just don't know whether it's something that'll kill him. Is Russia running out of missiles? Not yet, although there has been, I shouldn't say that. There's been kind of mixed stories on this, because what I've been seeing is that Russia's doing a lot of the artillery shells, and firing at cities. And a large part of the reason that Russia keeps just firing at the cities and taking out hospitals and churches, but schools and everything else, is because their precision munitions, they're getting low. And a lot of those precision munitions, for example, are the missiles that they can actually guide and everything else. So we know they're getting low on those. Now, the cruise missiles, they still had, this was a couple of weeks ago, though, the last time I saw this figure, it says something like half their cruise missiles. And they've got a lot of the cruise missiles on the submarines that are in the sea there by the Black Sea. So, they're not running out, but as of several weeks, people felt that the Russians were running out of, not running out, they were running low enough on precision missiles that they were having to rely more on things like artillery. And to some degree, the Russians don't care because they're happy to use artillery and kill civilians because that's what they do, sorry, Syndicate, I was going to get Remy. Remy asks, how is the anti-Putin sentiment building in Russia? I don't know that we know. The one little anecdote I saw on that was somebody saying that their family had talked to their grandma back in Russia. And before, she was kind of parroting all the talking points from the, thank you, the talking point from the media and stuff. And this last time she wasn't. And she was actually much more quiet about the war and everything. And they said what they interpreted it as being was that the news was getting through. That grandma and her friends were, this is just one anecdote, but we're starting to hear about the war and how it wasn't going so well. So all of a sudden they were kind of like, beyond that, who knows? I mean, the polls from like a month and a half ago were very good for Putin. Then again, you're doing a poll in a dictatorship. So, who the hell knows, right? I mean, it's not like people are going to speak out and speak out to a pollster on the phone and go, oh yeah, I hate the guy, but there's also, Russia doesn't have enough of a history of standing up to their leaders and throwing them out. I mean, there was 2011, you had the democracy movement, which is great, but that stuff doesn't happen nearly enough in Russia. So I don't know. Although more people are coming home dead and injured and they can't help that. That's the kind of thing that you can't hide. Let me see here. Oh, excuse me. I'm yawning at you guys. It's the afternoon. I shouldn't do this. Welcome, Flint. I see you're here. All right, let me grab another TikTok. Boop. Hang on. I can see this, but way easier with my glasses. Moldova, as I said, I think Moldova is more the situation where the Russians are rabble rousing because they want to force the Ukrainians to move troops there. They want the Ukrainians to think, well, gosh, maybe Putin's dumb enough to do something with Moldova, so we're going to have to keep a couple thousand troops or whatever on the Moldovan border, on the Transnistrian border, just in case. And it makes the Ukrainians take the land. Oh, no problem, Kami. It makes the Ukrainians take the troops from somewhere else where they should be fighting the Russians and move them to Moldova where they're being wasted sitting on their butts just in case there's something. So that's always been my sense of what's going on with Moldova. Yes, the yawning is exactly. I've been talking about it's bad. I don't even want to talk about my yawning. Let me see here. When will sanctions work? We do know some of them are working already. I mean, the question becomes, first of all, the problem is define work. No one thought that Putin was going to care about the sanctions in terms of pulling out of Ukraine, right? Nobody thought that was going to happen. They didn't think Putin was going to go, gosh, these sanctions suck. I'm not invading or I'm leaving. The question becomes, to what degree are they making it harder for the Russian war machine? I mean, if you want to get you guys, I did have a bad night's sleep, so that's part of this. Sorry. Making harder for the Russian war machine by cutting off funding, which is the financial stuff, and going after the Russia's little war chest, its currency reserves, and making them spend the currency reserves on their debt. So that's been helpful because it then means that's money they can't spend on the war. Excuse me. But it's going to be hard to know. Well, I guess the third thing is the Russian economy overall and making it hard for consumers. We have that anecdote, like I said earlier today, from the Minister of Transport in Russia saying that basically their logistics system of getting goods back and forth in the country is gone because of the sanctions. If that's true, that means, unless your goods are actually, even in the city you live in, forget across country, even in the city you live in, I think of Washington, D.C. Businesses are still sending things back and forth with FedEx and DHL and all this kind of stuff. Maybe not as much. I'm guessing maybe not as much as they do across country, but I don't know. But you're talking lots of businesses and actually even consumers, I think in the States here, right? I mean, all the time, if I'm getting stuff from Amazon or somewhere else, I'm using, they're sending via, well, now Amazon's sending its own, but sometimes it's UPS and stuff like that. I don't know with Russians, how much the Russians use buying things from stores that are far away and they get shipped to them by these services, or whether it's solely internationally. But this is a problem for Russia, and that's going to hurt their economy. The question is, does it become enough? I don't know. Allergies. Ugh, I am not taking the dog out today. I mean, taking her out briefly, but not taking her out nearly enough. Tomorrow is going to be a normal day, low 70s. I'm so excited. And I go to my allergist, which I'm also so excited about. Woo! Woo! No word on the Russians using the hotline. This is a new hotline that was set up. And the interesting thing somebody realized, I talked about this yesterday, the Ukrainians set up a hotline for Russian troops to call who want to defect. And the number for the hotline is 2402 that they call. And what somebody noted was that's the day of the invasion, February 24th, 24 of the month 02, which was interesting. Just kind of a cute little thing the Ukrainians did to be funky. Oh. Trying to see here. Any more big fires? There's lots of fires. Yes, there are ongoing fires every day in Russia. As always, we don't know to what degree those fires, some of the fires are just fires and not started by the Ukrainians or sympathizers. We do know that in the last couple of days, another, of course, because who calls me when I'm online with you people? I ask you. Of course, who calls me? My mother, she cracks me up. I swear to God, she's got a sixth sense for calling during these things. Absolutely cracks me up. I forgot what I was even saying. What did I look at before Mom? You know what? I pulled somebody's question up. I'm sorry. Mom threw me for a loop. Sorry, guys. Oh, hi, Mom. I know. If anybody remembers the question I was starting to answer, feel free to say. Sorry about that. Beep, 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 beep. Wait, I'm pretty close. Actually, I remember it was here. Hang on. Oh, big fires. That was it. The big fire question. Yeah. So, and who was this? This was Fran B, I believe. Yep, Fran B, asking about the big fires. So there have been more fires. We don't know what the Ukrainians have done or not. Now, one interesting thing about the fires is, and somebody else had mentioned this to me, and I thought, oh, that's a good point. The Ukrainians aren't admitting anything. So even when they blew up, and we know they did, when they blew up the ammunition depot in Belgorod, they didn't admit it in Russia. When they blew up the oil depot, they didn't admit it, right? They said, oh, karma's a bad thing. Well, then they get asked about the fires, and they kind of did the same thing, like, oh, we don't know. What they're trying to do is create a little bit of a sense of, oh my God, those crazy Ukrainians, they're so all-powerful among the Russians, so the Russians kind of get psyched out and more scared of them. So that's what's going on. Having said that, there was another bombing or Molotov bombing or whatever of a Russian recruitment center in the last couple of days. So that did happen. Yeah, I didn't mention. I think I meant to mention it on one of these days, but I didn't. So that, excuse me, I am so bad, guys. I'm sorry. I just couldn't sleep this morning. I do know why. I just, haven't been sleeping well at all anyway. Thank you, Poppy, for that. That makes me feel better, even though I'm still tired. What else we got here? Moldova. Somebody's sending me virtual coffee. I did have coffee earlier. I finished my coffee for the day. I should be fine. But what do you do? I'm kind of funny with coffee, though. Even when I'm tired, coffee doesn't really wake me up. I could still be exhausted like this, but I could have coffee and I'd be hyper, but I'd still be exhausted. Like my energy isn't the problem. I'm still like, but I'm exhausted. It's kind of a weird, funny mix. Will the war end by September? Who the heck knows? I only say that because, for example, if Putin, and he will, I think, Putin tries to dig in and say, I'm not giving up the East. I'm not giving up that corridor through Mariupol. And I'm not giving up Kherson, the land north of Crimea. Actually, yeah, the allergies probably are making me tired. I'm sticking with those lands. I'm not giving them up. And I'm digging in, and I'm putting in trenches, and I'm putting in landmines and everything else. And too bad for you, then Ukraine is going to have a long, drawn-out war trying to get that land back. And then this goes way beyond September. So I would not be surprised. I am not familiar with, Jennifer K asks, can anyone ask about the benefit concert from Ukraine for Ukraine on June 16th? I am not familiar with that concert. If somebody wants to explain what it is, that would be kind of cool. And actually, yeah, I was going to say, if you want to put a link maybe that people could click on. The links, I think the way we set up the link policy on YouTube at least is that once you've become a regular and you come a number of times, the system recognizes you and lets you post links. So just so you know. The Lend-Lease thing, there's a good question too. Excuse me. Now my allergies are going off here. Excuse me. Craig asked, when do you think Lend-Lease will begin to, I guess, bed in and have a real impact on the ground in Ukraine? The Lend-Lease thing is the $40 billion bill that Biden signed when he was in Japan a couple days ago, maybe yesterday or the day before, or South Korea, I think, when he was there. The issue with the bill is, first, not all the bill is for weapons. Some of it's for weapons for Ukraine. Some of it is for weapons, like I don't know if it's 10 billion or whatever, for the U.S. to refill the U.S.'s own stock of weapons that we already gave Ukraine. So weapons to build us our own defense back. Some of it's for humanitarian aid. Some of it is for watch it, Flint. Hey, Flint, you know the rule. If you're gonna criticize me, buy the question. Don't just poke fun of me. You've got to pay to poke fun of me. Yeah, so not all of it is weapons being sent, okay? Oh, yeah, some of it is money. There's billions being sent to help hold up the Ukrainian government, right? So that's happening. There's, I forget what, like I said, food and other stuff. In any case, so we don't know what, and we don't know which weapons will necessarily be sent to Ukraine. There was something the other day on the military folks that I follow on Twitter. And they were saying, oh, my God, this is great. The Washington Post says that the U.S. is sending Stinger missiles, which are great, anti-aircraft missiles, and the MLRS system, the mobile launch rocket system that can shoot rockets really far, to Ukraine. This is a game changer. And all the military guys are like, this is a game changer. So I went to the Washington Post, and I'm looking at this, and all I'm seeing is one article about the Lend-Lease bill, the $40 billion bill, and it says, I don't know if it was 10 million, whatever, however much will be devoted towards sending more military systems to Ukraine, possibly including Stingers. And I think that was the phrase. And I'm going, possibly including Stingers is not the same as this bill gives Ukraine Stingers. So clearly the legislation still left it broad enough for Biden to decide, which is good, but it's bad because we're still dealing with, Biden, who, well, it's almost like the two faces of Biden, even though he's not two-faced, but the side of Biden that is, oh my God, we don't want to escalate. He's still afraid of escalating. So we're still not giving him all the good stuff. So, we'll see about that. So I don't know. I don't know about the impact on the ground because it depends what we send and when we send it. We know that they're already, for example, I know too, somebody was talking the other day, and I don't know which, but one of the videos I put up of Russian equipment being destroyed by the Ukrainians, and somebody, adjusting my weather in the apartment again here, it's a little too cold again, somebody mentioned online and said, those are the, actually, hold on, I'm going to pull up what the system is because maybe one of you knows what it is. And you can even tell everybody, hang on. But it was a GPS guided artillery, here it is, artillery shell. And the U.S. had already sent them some. And in this case, Canada is sending them more. So this is so you're really quick. It's called, the ones, the U.S. I think has already sent some and Canada is sending more. Now the Canada is sending the M982 Excalibur extended range GPS guidance blah, 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 155 millimeter shells. There they are. Those are the artillery shells. And what the experts were saying was, this was interesting, that if he's correct, that those shells will add 10 kilometers to the reach of the Ukrainian guns. So that's, I'll say 7 miles. And 3-meter accuracy, which means accuracy within 9 feet. Can you imagine these things shooting, I don't know, what is it, 25 miles or something? And their accuracy is within 9 feet? That's just scary. But that's how you really take out tanks and things, by getting within 9 feet of them. So, you know, there's already good stuff arriving that is making a difference. And especially the anti-tank stuff is what a lot of folks are saying has been really pivotal. You guys are all having a discussion about young people. I see this. Oh, here we go, about the concert. So Syndicate says on June 16th, 2022, so that's a month from now, okay, or 3 weeks from now, World Unite for Ukraine is presenting a virtual 90-minute concert event streamed to 25 countries that will feature top international artists. Okay. I assume it's raising money for humanitarian relief, is my guess, which is not a bad idea. That's nice. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. All right. I like that. Another question. I keep saying, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say, what do we got here? God. That's a big question. Still chasing dragon. Can you comment on OPSEC's failures and successes? That's kind of a big, I don't even know I know enough about the various ones. I mean, we know basically it's saying operational security, like the idiots who bragged about their mobile artillery and then got it blown up. But I don't think I know enough about it. I mean, just a couple anecdotes. Like we knew the Chechens screwed up early on. Remember they bragged, they set up a video of their training camp and they bragged about it and put it on YouTube. And 3 days later, the Ukrainians blew it up because they discerned where it was from the video, which is pretty freaking funny. No update on Irina. I will ask Vlad about that. Irina is the woman working with the food charity in Kharkiv, the charity that we've been donating to, who got basically blown up along with her husband by an artillery shell that hit nearby in their car. And it blew both of her eardrums, and she had to get eardrum replacement surgery, which is kind of scary. We do know that she had the surgery, and a few days later or shortly thereafter was saying that she was recovering and now she was in Kyiv. She moved to the capital for the surgery, and she was now beginning her recovery. Like she said, it was going to take a long time for her to recover from it. But there you go. People are making moose and squirrel jokes on TikTok. I always love that. There ought to be a moose and squirrel GIF that people can put on TikTok. That'd be funny. Or not GIF, but a movie. What else we got here? I don't know if Russia will take all of the East. I don't think so. I mean, even like I said, what I think we're seeing is it looks like Russia is changing its focus now to taking over the east of the East, like making sure they get all of Luhansk and is it Donetsk, which is sort of the other part of it? Thank you, ID, for that. The other part of it, that they keep going back and forth with the Ukrainians. So I just, from what I'm reading, I get the sense that they're saying, you know what? Let's solidify what we've got. We screwed up in Kharkiv. We were able to expand in the east of the East. They expanded their holdings. They were able to get that land corridor they wanted to Crimea, and they were able to steal land north of Crimea. And I think going forward, they're going to maybe put all of their effort into holding that area, digging in that area, and maybe pushing out in other ways as they can. But I don't know if they're going to take all of Donetsk, but I think they're going to try to dig in more on Luhansk. If they can take more, they will. But, it would not be a great failure for them to at least get the Luhansk region and be able to dig in, right? Everyone's talking about, I love this when the YouTube folks get amongst themselves, they're all talking about Seinfeld, which is too funny. You guys are so bizarre. Oops, hang on here. Ukrainian armed forces casualties, we don't know. I mean, partially what you're seeing there is, which makes sense, the Ukrainians don't want to say, they don't want to say how many men they've lost because, well, first of all, that benefits the Russians if they say how many men have lost. if they were to tell the truth, then the Russians would know, okay, we know how many Ukrainians. Let's, what have we degraded here and there? They also don't want to hurt morale at home by saying how many troops they've lost. So they've not been talking about it. And for the same reasons we don't, meaning we, the West, our governments clearly have their own intelligence analysis of how many troops and weapons the Ukrainians have lost, but they don't talk about it for the same reason, because they don't want to help the enemy. And, well, help the enemy by either hurting morale in Ukraine or giving the Russians data the Russians need. But you better believe the U.S. is looking at satellite photos and analyzing, different battles, how many Russian vehicles are destroyed, how many Ukrainian vehicles, and then they can extrapolate people, because they know, for example, a normal tank crew, I believe, has 3 people. A Russian one, because they're so short on men, has 2 or 1, from what I've read. And they would then use that to say, okay, if this is a Ukrainian tank that's blown up, that's 3 soldiers they've lost. And if this is your Russian one, it's maybe 2 soldiers that are lost, and they add the numbers together. So I'm guessing our guys have an estimate, but they're never going to say publicly. Maybe after the war, but not before, not now. Harvey, BBC is now reporting that Russia has been moving Ukrainian children to Vladivostok. My God, Vladivostok is the way Russian Far East, all the way on the Pacific Ocean, like near China, near Korea, all of that. Splitting them from their parents who've typically been going to the far north. God, what is their plan for this? I mean, wow. The problem is, as we found, remember, under Trump, there was this big blow up over children getting separated from their parents, the migrants or whatever crossing the border, and that the children were being shipped somewhere different from their parents. And they went to court, and the families, or the people representing the families, went to court, and the Trump administration officials said there were like a couple thousand children where they said, we just don't know where they are. They lost the children. If you're sending people all over Russia away from their parents, there is a really decent chance that you're going to lose them, especially in a place like Russia. I doubt they're going to have the most sophisticated computer systems, or frankly, the desire to care for getting these kids back. Wow, that's really messed up. Harvey, the problem is with all the Ukrainians Russian has kidnapped, including the kids. And again, the Russians have said they've already admitted to over 1 million Ukrainians that they've taken out of a country of 43 million. Is how do you even know how many they've taken or who they are, let alone where they are? The Russians are the only ones who know who's been taken. I mean, for all we know, if you were Ukrainian, your neighbor's gone. Was your neighbor killed? Is your neighbor a refugee? Or is your neighbor in Russia? Who knows? Right? Kids are gone for the parents. Do the parents know, were the kids killed? Were the kids taken away? I mean, who the hell knows? So I don't know how you remedy a situation like this when there's no way to even know the extent of the problem, right? No, it's really bad. I do not see a positive outcome. And in the end, too, even if something gets negotiated, is Russia going to give them all back? Because again, we have to rely on Russia's word for who they've even got. No, it's really bad. I don't quite get what Russia's doing. My guess is, to some degree, you steal the children, you steal the future of the country. You steal the citizens, same thing. It's a big country, but 43 million people. You take 1 million, that's 2.5% of the population you've stolen. That's not nothing. So I think they're trying to actually hurt the country by taking the citizens, hurt it in terms of maybe economically in its future, but also hurt it emotionally and psychologically. And they're trying to destroy everything that is Ukraine. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I'll do another question or two, guys, and then we'll call it quits and just hang out. It's a slow day today, maybe because of the weather. Yeah, the French should give up Corsica too. Oh, not Corse. Corsica, exactly. Corse is the French way of calling it Corsica. That's very funny. What do we got here? And I'll still look here to see if anybody else is here. sorry guys, allergies. Oh, that's cute. It shows the one I answered. I didn't realize it showed that. Yes, support Ukraine content by liking it. Actually, that is something I'll remind folks of. And I always say this, not just for my content, but anybody who's doing stuff you like, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on TikTok or any of the other social media, like it. Follow the person, click the like button, share it, leave a comment. All of that stuff helps a lot because it is a constant battle with the algorithm, which is like the computer program written by the company to determine what content they're going to show. You know, we know particularly on TikTok that this content, you know, gets buried. And frankly, like I said, even my lives, they dropped my lives. My lives, I'm getting a third of the traffic. And this started like last Sunday. Literally, they switched the switch, and instead of starting the show with 2,000 followers, which we always do, 2,000 to 3,000, we start the show now with 500 to 700 followers. And it just, TikTok did it. It wasn't gradual, so it's not like the summer weather. It was boom, they did it. So that's the kind of thing, you know, you can help out by, like I said, by following, by liking, commenting. I mean, you're obviously commenting here, but when you other creators you like, again, it can be anything. It can be. It works the same on Twitter. It works the same on TikTok. It works the same on Facebook. Anytime you engage on the content, it tells the computer, hey, people are interested in this content. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe they do like it, right? It makes them mad. It makes them happy, but they engage and they want engagement. That's what these companies want. So anyway, I always make a point when I'm now on any of these things and I'm looking at friends' content, I always kind of have to remind myself, like, oh yeah, like it. I gotta like it. I gotta like it. So just make sure you do. It helps. And actually tell your friends too. That's not a bad thing either. If you like my stuff, tell people about it on TikTok, on YouTube, etc., because it just helps to get more people. Yeah, Flint, insert funny quote here. I think, Flint, we're going to count that retroactively for your earlier comment. So that works. All right, guys, I am going to stop the Ukraine Q&A and do my usual now where we will hang out for another 10 minutes or so. So let's do that. Because then we hang out and we just sort of shoot the breeze about anything else that isn't Ukraine. So I was on your FYP. That's good, at least. That's good. But something's going on. I don't know what it is. It's really annoying. It's really annoying. It's just, I don't know. Anyway. Oh, that's right. Let me recap. I forgot. Recap. Right. One of the things you guys had suggested, which was a good idea, is whenever then we finish, I just read the headlines of all the news that I just talked about. So at least the headlines, you know kind of what the issues are. All right. Russia is intensifying the battle for the town of Severodonetsk, which is the easternmost Ukraine. Other military movements, they're trying to set up an administration in Mariupol. They're reinforcing around Kharkiv to stop the Ukrainians from coming to their border. And they're digging in around Kherson, town in the south, right north of Crimea, to basically stop the Ukrainians from invading and taking it back. Zelensky said that he would consider it a victory for Ukraine if they could go back to the pre-February 24th borders, meaning right to where the war started. If they can get back to there, where, you know, Russia still controlled Crimea, which they're not happy about, but back to there, they would consider it a victory. The French, for reasons unknown, felt it necessary to say that Ukraine would not be joining the European Union for 15 to 20 years. Russia shut off all natural gas to Finland. It didn't matter. Lithuania cut off all energy imports from Russia, including oil, electricity, and natural gas. The Russian transport minister says the sanctions are working and have practically broken all logistics corridors for trade in Russia. Biden is meeting Indian Prime Minister Modi in Japan and is going to be hitting him up to join the sanctions regime. Russia is considering trading Medvedchuk, who is a pro-Russian politician in Ukraine, super pro-Russian, for some of the Azov fighters, but I'm not convinced that that's a real story. The Russians bragged about some self-propelled artillery they had, and like the Ukrainians, they were trying to show it on social media and show how cool they were, and the Ukrainians used the video to determine where the artillery was, and they blew it up. And then they filmed blowing it up, which was kind of even funnier. The Oh yeah, this my favorite story. The Russians decided that it would be a really smart idea to once again go and try to cross that river in the east, the river where they got blown up last time. Well, they tried it again yesterday. They got blown up again. So, oh well. Guerrillas are helping, in other words, partisans are helping Ukrainian armed forces in Zaporizhia in the south, which is good because it's a sign that you do have these partisan movements starting. In other words, citizen soldiers that are rising up in these cities. That's great, like secret soldiers in essence. The Russians are threatening entrepreneurs in the Zaporizhia region to start using rubles or else. And Russia has blown up more than 1,000 educational institutions since the war started. Oh yeah, and then the final thing, which was nice, I showed a little video showing that in St. Petersburg, Russia, there was a concert, and the crowd of young people, like several hundred young people, just started chanting "F the war, F the war." Of course, they didn't say F, but you know, I don't know how to say that in Russian. So there you go. That's the summary. All right. I am tired today. Sucks. I love The West Wing. I haven't watched it again for a while. Someone's asking if anybody's watching The West Wing, but I have watched it many times over. Man. What else, guys? But yeah, I wish the weather was nicer. I may just take a nap after this. I do need to get some food shopping, but not convinced I want to do it today. Sunday's always a crazy day to go food shopping. I'm going to skip it if I can help it. Sasha is sleeping somewhere. I am guessing that... Oops. I am guessing that she's in my bedroom because I'm not seeing her around here. Now, this is a different time of day for her because at nighttime when I do this, I run into the time, like at 8 o'clock at night when I brush her teeth, which includes this paste that tastes like peanut butter that she likes. But then she also gets a treat afterwards. So 8 o'clock when I'm on the show with you guys is why she arrives and starts going, "Rrr." But now this is the middle of the afternoon. The only thing at this time is we often would go for a walk. But because it's so, did Witcher 3, because it's so hot, we're not doing a walk today. Oh, did Witcher 3 come out? Oh, did Witcher 3 come out? Oh my. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that. Thank you. I did not know Witcher 3 came out. If that's true, I like Witcher 3. Ooh, Witcher was great. I enjoyed that so much. Such a strange, interesting, well done show. The characters are all really good, really well done. That's true. We could watch the concert. We should see about that. I'm sure we could watch the concert. What do I think of solar energy? I mean, I'm all for it, Remy, of course. Just a matter of does it work? And not does it work, but meaning can they build it up enough that it could be actually mainstreamed? Thank you, Flower Lady. You know that's my fave. You know what I mean? Could it? For example, my building here, we've got a large rooftop. It's a condominium building, and we have solar panels up there. From what I understand, the solar panels on my building save us $5,000 a year. But when you break it down, that's $400 a month. You know, like, really? And there's 42 of us owners, so that's $10 a month per person it saves us. I mean, that's okay. My world is not shattered that it saves me $10 a month, and that's all it saves. So, you know, then again, I guess in the aggregate, anyway, that's my only thing with solar energy is I just don't know enough whether it's enough to make a significant impact, although maybe in some countries it has. But people are definitely putting them up, you know, all over the states and stuff for sure. You know, we have it. We use it. People do. Why not? It's still less energy being used, so that's a good thing. But, you know, and yeah, thank you, mods. Somebody did say thank you, the mods. Gil Mercury, you are correct. We should be thanking the mods. As always. I didn't see, was it very trolly today or not? I also wonder that too, like whether although TikTok is still lower than normal, but is it lower because the trolls aren't coming for you TikTok crowds, or are the Russians still invading it for like the first half of the broadcast like they used to? Or are they not invading anymore and that's maybe why some of the traffic decreased? It's possible. You know? I mean, you'd know. Is it crazy? Or has it not been too crazy lately? On the TikTok side of things. I know also on YouTube, you guys were starting to get some of the crazies in the last week. I always have to wait for TikTok to catch up. It's funny. It's like a 20-second. Lower trolls for sure today. Okay. I mean, today's a Sunday though, and you never know because the weekends often can be slower. Yeah, not been bad today. It could be, yeah. That could be part of it too. What else? You're into Remy I'm really into tech, and we'll get into Russian. We'll get into Russian cams. What does that mean? Not sure what that means, Remy. Le quoi? What if Finland and Sweden are not admitted to NATO? Yeah, seriously. I mean, what do you do? I'm not sure. What do you do if they're not admitted? I mean, right. The concern obviously is Turkey playing games, right? And I don't know. I don't know if Turkey would do that. I mean, if they're not, they're not. I don't know sort of what to say, because if they're not, they're not. I mean, if anything, then I think it becomes a larger question for Turkey. And because we almost don't have a choice, because Turkey is strategically significant for us. But if Turkey's playing games like that, I wonder whether you're not going to see a sort of deteriorating relationship with Turkey and NATO as a result. Certainly it would empower Putin. He'd be thrilled, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, it changes things, but I don't know, like the earth, is shattered the next day kind of stuff, Just seeing what other things you guys are throwing in here. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, you were saying, Remy, it means you can see unsecure cameras in Russia. Oh, yeah, I've got a friend you should talk to. I'm not going to name names. You begin to notice a trend of the farther from Moscow you go, the more hate for Putin you see. Interesting. Now, let me ask you, when you say you see hate for Putin, are you saying you mean you're seeing? Actually, I'm almost afraid of even discuss. Well, I guess we're discussing it. I'm not committing a crime by asking you questions about what you see. But do you mean you're seeing email chatter? You're seeing people in their rooms talking, which I guess then you'd have to speak Russian. And I am a little nervous about asking you too much more about this. But I'm curious what you mean by you see more hate for Putin. And as we said, we'll have to be really careful with this one. Lori, the story of Ukraine. Oh, you're asking me stuff. This is sounding confusing, Lori. You find a book, you start to read it and realize it's the story of your life. Oh, I see. And you reach the present time. Oh, that's interesting. Do you continue, or two, do you read to the finish? It cannot change anything. Or do you close the book knowing nothing? That's interesting, especially since you can't change anything is interesting. God. I don't know. I would be torn on that one. I wouldn't have an immediate, like some people, I wonder if you would have an immediate answer for that. Like I said, if you found a book and it was the story of your life, and you get to the present and you could read to the end to find out what else happens for the rest of your life, or you could skip it, which would you do? And I legitimately feel like I'm in the middle on that, because, I mean, if I couldn't change anything, there's no such thing as not changing anything. And what I mean by that is, I would still see how long I have to live. And that would at least, well, there's no such thing as not changing anything anyway. Because if I saw that I had 30 years or 20 years or 5 years, I might start to do more of the stuff that I like anyway, which I do have a choice. I mean, I can choose if I retire early. If I know I'm dying in 5 years, then I've got more than enough money in my retirement account and I'm stopped working today. I would still do this with you guys, but I wouldn't be working otherwise, So right there, something's going to change, So I don't know. I don't know, though. I don't know what I would say to that. Some people are saying you continue reading. What are the rest of you saying, if anything? They're not. Everyone else is talking about other stuff. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm stuck on that. It's legal. Okay. All right. Turkey wants F-16 fighters, and Ned is saying, just answers a couple of our different questions here. Now there's a weapons embargo. I think he will get the fighters. Yeah, I saw that they wanted their F-16s. Yes. Where was this from, Remy? Okay, you're fine. That's good to know. You can send me more on Twitter. I mean, I am very curious, though. I'd be very curious, if you want to tell me more. In cybersecurity, unsecure cams fall into this weird gray area that it's legal to look through. How bizarre. Okay. I would love to hear more about that. Yes. Although Twitter's hard to, Well, you know what? You can at least send me a little thing on Twitter and I'll follow you. And then you can send me a direct message. Or if you feel comfortable putting your Twitter handle up, I'll follow you and you can send me a direct message because that works. But I would love to hear more about that. Yeah. What else we see in here, guys? I may only go another minute or two longer. I really do think maybe I'm going to take a nap. I'm just tired today. Ugh. You know, yesterday was so damn hot too. And I went to like a yard sale in the morning, which tired me out walking around. Then afternoon, some friends did a thing on the roof. And again, it was I shouldn't have gone. I was in the shade, but I was still in 90-degree weather. And then a friend's birthday last night that thank God was inside, but still very tiring. Oh, I remember that name. Yeah, hang on. You're funny. I know who you are. Let me, oops. While we're talking, I'm going to follow Remy on Twitter. Un second, mon ami. Up. Where is this? I'm looking at a picture. No, where is my Twitter? My Twitter. Up. One sec here. Up. Bah. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh my God, I'm trying to pull up my search function. There we go. So, Elysion, is it _111? Okay. 111. I spelled it wrong. Of course, I spelled it wrong. Come on. Come on. Hold on. I got Illusion. Come on. Elysion 111. Here we go. There you are. Okay, I'm following you. Got you. Oh, yeah, I've seen your account. Because I was suspicious because you didn't have a lot of followers and you said Slava Ukraini. I was like, all right, is this a Russian? Who is this guy? But yeah, I would love to hear more about it. That's very interesting. Oh, I did hear movement. Hold on. I heard movement. She's hiding here. Are you in the, I think she's in her bed. Where the hell did I hear movement? Oh, she's under my bed. She's under my bed sleeping. She just moved positions. The dog is still sleeping under my bed. Not still, again, sleeping under my bed. You know, dogs, they move, they sleep, they move, they sleep. It's like back and forth and back and forth. Oh my. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't even read all of the comments, so I'm not worrying about it. My mic went haywire. No, now my mic's fine, isn't it? Oh, really? Don't do that. Hold on. When I put it back now? I mean, I'm hanging up soon anyway, but is the mic not normal now? Maybe when you know what though? When I put it down, I may have put it down on my phone and it may have done the weird, electrical field thing, or God only knows. Yeah, I'm never saying her name again because I've asked her too many times and I keep forgetting. And I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm never saying it again. Oh, wait, I'm making sure I didn't forget anything else. Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay. So I had a couple questions starred, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just tired today, although that's okay, I guess. Yeah. All right, guys. You know what? I'm going to wrap then. I'm going to wrap because I'm tired. I feel like everyone's it's a little bit of a more tired day. All right. We will do tomorrow. Tomorrow is Monday. Yeah, Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, US. That's midnight Paris time. So, and I will set that up in a bit. So you'll see it in my profile. Remember, you can always go to my profile on this app on TikTok, and you can see the next live once I set it up, and it'll tell you the date and time. And stop that! What are you doing? That was weird. I was like talking to you guys, and SIRI decided on my iPad to suddenly pop up. What the hell was that? And it froze me. Jeez. I wasn't banned? What do you mean? Oh, right. I wasn't banned because, yes. Well, remember, I told you because TikTok was only going after the folks who were denying the war. That is not I. Yes. Sorry, guys. It froze because, SIRI suddenly thought I was talking to her, and I was not talking to her. Okay. So, yes, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, midnight Paris time, we will be back. SIRI is always listening. Exactly. And so is GOOGLE. Okay. Bye, Finland. Good to see you guys. All right, guys. I am going to sign off and decide if I vaguely go food shopping because I do need food. I'm not in the mood, but I think I will anyway. And see if people are wearing their masks. So, all right. Goodbye, you all. Goodbye, you all. As always, I will hang up on you all first because then it's a little safer. All right. Bye, guys.